Hey, everybody. I hope you are all safe and sound and staying inside as much as possible. I'm truly excited to be doing another casting director interview with Mel O'Neil from Mel and Liz Casting. Mel and Liz Casting have been finding faces and personalities for some of the world's biggest brands for the past decade. They've cast thousands of commercials for just about every category you can think of, and they are passionate about nurturing new talent and finding new faces. So Mel is here to give us some great advice and help empower everyone as an actor. So thank you very much, and please welcome Mel O'Neil.
Hi, everybody. I feel like this is such a gift because I got to take a shower and put on regular clothes today and look forward to seeing all of you and answering questions.
Awesome.
First thing I'd like to do is thank you, Tommy, and Casting Networks for this opportunity to connect, because it's been so weird being in isolation as we all been safer at home, which we need to do. And I just thank you and everyone over there, your team, and for making this opportunity to connect, because I think we all could use it.
I agree. And thanks for being here. It's so exciting. And I think we'll just go straight into it and go off the first question that we have, and that's regarding the casting process. So hoping you can give us a little bit behind the scenes about that and tell us the process of a casting director. What is your role in the talent booking a job?
Okay. Well, the first thing that you should know is that I love actors and we need them. So I'll go through briefly the process, kind of like A to Z, and then there's going to be lots of flexibility within those worlds. And everything that I speak about will be just, from my experience and what I've experienced in casting. I think, most casting directors have their own flavor, their own feel. There's definitely kind of broad strokes, and then everyone has their own individual. So this is all from my point of view, just so everyone's clear.
Yeah.
That each office is a little bit different. But what happens is the first thing is how a commercial is even made is the brand decides they want to make a commercial. They hire an ad agency, and the ad agency comes up with a creative. Then the ad agency hires a director and a production company to help bring that vision to life. And the director shares his creative with, or her creative, on how they would like to see this vision come together. So once the job is awarded, I would get a call from the director and producer, and we would go over the creative. We would go over the casting specs, what they're looking for, what they want the commercial to be about, what the feeling, the tone, and how they want to represent that. So once I get all that information, it's my job to share it. So I write up a brief and I send it out to the agents. And I try to put as much information as I can when I am working on a job about the role, about the diversity, about anything that we're looking for specifically, so that the agents can hone in on their talent that they feel is best for the job. And that's what they do. They then submit their ideas to me, and then we cull over those and find out and fine tune who we think best, advances the treatment and who best represents the role. And then we bring those people in. And that's where we get to collaborate, which is so fun. Because when you come in as an actor, I'm looking for you to help bring this to life, because it's a collaborative art form. Like, we're all looking to see how it's going to turn out. And it is everyone's vision plus the actor and weaving that in. So once you come to audition, what I like to do is, yes, adhere to what the director has said they're looking for in the spot, and then have another take or so where we can bounce off and give it a little bit more flexibility. And I really want actors to bring themselves to the project. Then at the end of the day, we send that link off to the clients and the director, and they take their pick. So we have the director's choices for the role. We have the clients. They kind of mingle and bring back who they'd like to bring in for callbacks. And then once we have everyone in the table and in for callbacks, it's a whole nother room where there's a lot of things going on. But again, the main point is to see the talent in the room, to get a feel for them, what they can do. And it's kind of a rehearsal for the shoot in many ways, because the director may not have met the ad team, and so they might be meeting for the first time. And during the process of the audition, they might have want to change how things go in the callback. So there's, again, we'll talk more on that later, but that's about flexibility. But mainly the callback is to rehearse and find the people, and then put those people on the table and kind of map out the best version of the commercial that they can make. And then someone gets the part and you make commercial magic.
No, I love that. No, that's great. That's a lot of great information. And you touched on that a little bit, but want to talk about callbacks, and specifically how much of a role does a casting director have in the talent receiving a callback?
Right. I know a lot of people get confused. They think that the casting director gives them the callback. While that can be true, for the most part, it is between the director and the ad agency and their ideas, their creative ideas. Now, I happen to have a great relationship with my directors, so they will usually say to me, Mel, if there's someone I missed, or if someone couldn't make it to first call that you know that would be great for this, feel free to bring them in. So there are opportunities, but for the most part, I want talent to know that when they're getting a callback, it's no favor. Like, people aren't called back because, just as a favor, like, oh, well, I think they just were nice to me this time. That's not true. It's hard to get a callback. It means that you're in the top, 1% of your business. So it's a great place to be,
Yeah.
It's not, they're not going to just do it as just like to throw you a bone.
And again, that leads into the next thing, is audition techniques. So I know I have talent. I know I'm a great actor, but I'm just not great at auditioning. What can I do to develop better audition techniques?
Right. Well, auditioning is a very separate skill from being an actor. It's part of your tool belt for sure, but it's a specific skill and it needs to be nurtured. So two ways we can look about what's getting in your way as an actor. Could that be nerves? Could it be expectation? So you can address those by being as prepared as you can, right? And then the other thing is, I'm so sorry. So going back to auditioning well, is to be prepared and have a point of view and come into play. And I think a lot of people forget to have fun. And it comes all about, it's like, I need this job. I need to book this job. I don't know why I'm not working. And I'm like, okay, well, that's all that I see, because you can't disconnect that, right? You can't take that away. And especially in the commercial world, we're kind of pretty much on your faces. So it's, I call it the big lie detector, because we can tell when you're not the truth. I can tell when you don't want to be there. I can tell when you're so nervous.
Yeah.
And if you're going to be nervous about lines, then make sure that you either get there early to memorize them, or, give yourself the time that you need to make that.
Right. It's a job, but it's probably the most fun job you can have. So
exactly.
Have fun with it.
Definitely staying flexible, but also, if you're not auditioning all the time, right, you should be in class. You should be working on yourself. You should be in a class that has a camera so that you can see what you're doing. Because then you'll get to realize, what you look like on camera. Because sometimes as an actor, we think we're doing one thing and we're actually doing another. So you're like, I was trying to be very simple. And they're like, you're so big, but you don't know that because you need to work on it. It's a skill set. You need to work on it, and you can also work on improvisation, because that will keep you loose and flexible when you audition, right? And there are tons of really great comedy schools out there, and you can just jump into class and kind of feel, they all have super free 2 classes, shows, and you can see like what suits you, how you feel, and make that part of your routine to keep on it.
Yeah. So we covered information regarding audition techniques and callbacks and that sort of thing. But before that, my profile's getting submitted. So how much does a headshot matter in the casting process?
Well, it matters a lot, right? Because it's your calling card. So it should be a good investment for yourself. I think most importantly, your headshot should not just be a nice picture of yourself, but it should have your personality through it. You know, that I can see if you have a sense of humor or you're fun, or and not having just one shot, because that can be, people just look different. And I think it's good to have at least 3 or 4 shots on there. And I think your headshot really needs to be current. And I think a lot of people are like, well, I just got headshots, you know, a couple years ago. And, you know, but, you know, you might look very different than you did. And I think it's important to stay current. I think men, if you are indeed sporting, like you, Tommy, the fabulous beard and mustache, then you need to have a photo that represents you now. So I pick people specifically for some things when because the jobs are so specific, the role is specific. So I want you to walk in the door looking like your headshot.
I am willing to shave. No. But yeah, that comes up quite a bit in terms of headshots. It's, you know, like you're saying, it's better to have a photo that actually looks like you than the absolute best headshot, right?
Yeah. And you know, hopefully your agent works with you on that to kind of hone in on what your type or your versatility, so that your headshot can be reflective of that as well. You know what I mean? That I can see that you can go from, you know, A to Z or what have you.
Yeah. It's awesome. So let me go into this. What should be on my demo reel?
Well, I have very specific opinions about demo reels. I think they can really help you or they can really hurt you. I think your demo reel should be current. I think it should be short. And I think it should feature you. I know that sounds crazy, but I've seen tons of reels where people are with other actors. And I'm not even sure which actor that is because it's shot so poorly or it's not well lit or something. So I think it's really important to have a professional reel. And if it's not great, don't put it up there. It's not going to help you. You know, only put something that you're super proud of on your reel.
Another question that we get a lot is, what is more important, memory versus improvisation, or what's something that, you know, is more important to me as an actor?
Right. Well, I definitely think if there's dialogue, that you should memorize it for just the same sake that once you have the dialogue memorized, then you're not worried about it. And then you're free to improvise and to take direction and to listen. If you're worried about the dialogue, that's literally all I see. I see that you're nervous and you're worried and you're reading the dialogue, as opposed to being relaxed and, you know, taking it in like a normal person, instead of trying to play at something, as opposed to be yourself. So I think memorization is a great thing. It's a great tool for you. Some people like to be spontaneous, and that's great if that works for them. So, but I do think it's in your best interest. You want to give yourself, we don't get to see as many people per role that we used to see, because the amount of time we have has been condensed. So I don't get to see that many people per role. So I think you should make the most of that time for yourself. You should give yourself the best opportunity, you know, and that comes from way before you even walk in the door, right? So once you're given an audition ticket, I've given you information on there, like the description of the character and the wardrobe. So those are things you can immediately kind of, you know, take in, and giving you little clues. And of course, if there's any dialogue and I can share it, I'd love to put it out so that you can relax and enjoy your time when you're being here and actually be an actor. And so those are some ways that you can get ahead of before you even walk in the door. And especially if you don't know the product very well, then you'll have an opportunity to like maybe jump online and Google and see their commercials and their types and what they've done in the past, so you can get an idea of their flavor, so to speak, of the brand's flavor. Because, like I said, you're like brand ambassadors, really.
Yeah, and that goes into a few other questions that are all kind of the same thing in terms of setting yourself apart, right? So I want to, I'm in a big city. What can I do to set myself apart? So let's start with that question. What can I do to set myself apart?
Well, for the first thing, you can just be yourself, because you are enough. Like, you right now as an actor are enough. And to be yourself, to be comfortable with yourself, to own yourself, and to not be apologetic for who you are. Like, don't try to be somebody else. Don't try and be this category and all this. Be who you are. Be like what's intrinsic to your personality. What is your spark? What is your take on life? What is your essence, your energy? Because that's what you're bringing to the table, right? We always tell actors, bring yourself to the role. Well, what is that? It's like bringing your energy, bringing your opinions, your point of view to, like, how would you do this? How would you do this role if it was open to you? So I think setting yourself apart is really getting to know yourself as an actor and being comfortable with who you are. I think that will definitely set you apart.
And going along with that, so I'm an actor and I want to be submitted for as many roles as possible, because I think the more roles I can be submitted to, the more work I'll get, right? So the question is it more important to be versatile, or should I hone in on one type when I'm...
Well, I think, of course, being as versatile as you can be, but being realistic about who you are. So, to that again goes back to knowing yourself, and perhaps being in class where you can see yourself on camera, so that you get to know your type, right? Because there's your type, and then there's total flexibility, right? There's a little bit of wiggle room there. So I think, of course, the more versatile you could be, but again, being realistic about the roles that you're going to play. And that's something you should know about yourself, is like what you instantly look like. What do you read as when people see you? Because how quickly do we judge people? 1 second, right? So your looks are part of that judgment, right? So when we see you, we get a quick read about you immediately. And so everything else about you should kind of back up that kind of what you're going to play, the roles that you're going to play, is like, oh, I could instantly see you doing that. I instantly like you. I instantly trust you. If you're playing like a bank teller, I'm just like, wow, yeah, that person's trustworthy. I like them, I'd trust them with my money.
Right.
And then there's some people, where if they're playing like, I don't know, AM/PM clerk, you're like, I don't know, so it's knowing yourself.
I think that's great advice. Just know yourself, know who you are. And sometimes that can be hard to do. And sometimes it takes time to figure out who you are and what you can play.
I agree. And I think, actors judge themselves, right? And they try to take themselves out of the running, because they come in for the audition and they see other people in the lobby and they're like, oh, I'm not this type. Well, why was I brought in for this role? Well, I brought you in because I think you can book the role. And I've actually had actors say to me, like, I don't think this is my role. And I'm like, what are you talking about? This is your role. This is what you're going to do. And they wind up booking it. And so I think, when you get to an audition, there are things that you can do for yourself, right? You can, to empower yourself as an actor, is to come in and take care of yourself first. The first thing you want to do is say hi to everybody. And it's great seeing your friends, but, put the oxygen mask on yourself first. Go look at the boards, go look at the lines, see your part in it. What do you play? What's your part in this commercial? And then you can, once you have settled into that for a bit, then you can kind of sit and chat with friends. But I think come in and do your work, come in and see what the day is about. And empower you as actors to ask questions, because if you're not sure about how the scene's supposed to work, or you have a question, feel free to ask. You know what I mean? I want you to be to know as much as possible going into your audition, so that you're relaxed and you feel like you have the best opportunity in the room.
That's great advice. Well, we also got a lot of questions emailed in, so I think we'll go to those, and then we'll start taking some questions from the room, because I can see that there's been a lot of them. So the first question that was emailed in is, can having too many commercials on your resume work against you?
To be honest, I think it can, and I'll talk about this in the world of conflicts. If you let's just use AT&T. If you're going in for an AT&T commercial and you have Verizon listed on your resume, then that may throw the client into like, well, when did they do that Verizon? Were they the lead in it? Is it still running? Was there print? Like, so it opens a can of worms. So I think it's safer to leave off that information. The only thing we really need to know is if you currently have that conflict. So I think, in my personal opinion, some people may say differently, but I really feel it's in your favor to just say, list available upon request or something like that.
And
or anyway.
No, that's great. Second question from Jacqueline is, how do you stay empowered with an intimidating CD? Which is a great question for you, because you're very intimidating. And
I am. Yeah, I think so. That goes a little bit back to being yourself, right? And knowing who you are. So if someone's intimidating to you, why are you feeling fearful? So again, I implore you to kind of relax and be who you are, and just like, look, this is you. This is what you're bringing to the table, and knowing that you have value, and that we're looking for you, and that we're cheering you on, and we want you to be good. So I would just breathe and do your work, and not worry about the intimidation.
Yeah, I mean,
I hope that answers the question. I'm not sure.
No, I think so. It goes back to what you said at the beginning, where when you're going through the whole process, is you're just trying to get the right people in the door. So if you are there at the audition, then you think that you could that actor could possibly fit that role, and so you're rooting for them.
I'm rooting for them. I want you to do well. That's part of the collaboration. And it makes everybody look good. You know what I mean? It's making me look good by you doing your job well. So it's, I want success, and it's exciting to see people, be empowered and trust and know that they are who they are, and that's what they're bringing to the table. That's what they're bringing to the party, and I'm excited to see you. I'm excited to work with you.
Right. So you touched on this a little bit before, but the question from Olivia is, how can I get in the door for the first time? So I haven't auditioned for you before. How do I do that?
Yes, well, for the majority, I'm going to be working with talent agents who, again, part of the very collaborative process. And, I think your best opportunity is working with your agent, and perhaps getting yourself out there first on the platforms that have self-submissions, where you can have like direct cast and start auditioning and trying to get seen. Occasionally I do put out the project notice to direct cast, where people can submit themselves. But for the most part, I work with talent agents.
Great. Those were our questions that were emailed in. I mean, like, I could take more, but there's so many people here in the live chat that I want to try and take as many of those as possible. So we'll get to them. So apologies ahead of time because like managing these questions and talking to you at the same time sometimes throws me off a little bit. I'll try my best.
No, that's great. I'm just glad I'm not looking at all the questions. I'd be like, what? Oh, no, I
So
can't.
we got this question from Christopher, which is, I have a pretty good callback on hold ratio, but my bookings are low. Any pointers on sealing the deal?
Yeah, well, the first thing you should know is that you're in the right space, right? If you're getting callbacks for things that you go out for and getting on a veil, that means you're probably one of two, maybe three choices. So that's really great news. Callbacks, that's a whole nother beast that we could talk about forever. But one of the things you can do is be specific in your choices. And I think what happens, even with really great actors, is they sometimes they can just read something and get a sense of it and then just do it, as opposed to having a point of view or a feeling about attaching a feeling to what you're doing. So as actors, I'm asking you to come in with your point of view. What's your opinion? What's your feeling? What's your take on this? And even if it's a reaction, that's a point of view, right? You're reacting to something like, whatever the reaction is. That was a terrible reaction on my part, but I think you're in the right vein. You stay the course with what you're doing, but maybe bump up your choices. And so people call them choices or point of view or subtext, but so that we can see what's going on, we can read it without you even saying anything.
Next question I have is, what advice do you have for us older, 55 and over, who are now pursuing acting? I'm finding the competition is just as fierce, if not fiercer, and the roles are very limited.
Yes. Well, that's true. I think that's true. I think there's a lot of competition, and I do think what's great though for people 55 and older is they're coming in the casting world into major drugs, and those are usually a mouthful. So I would work on if you could do some on-camera workshops where you're working over dialogue, specifically medical dialogue and with like big pharma, because they are the ones that are that sometimes their text is written by lawyers, and so it's not as easy, doesn't roll off the tongue as some dialogue can be. So you have to bring your warmth to it, your natural sensibilities. So although you might be leaving one category, perhaps like the mom or older mom or what, you're moving into a new category where there are different, you'll just be playing different roles. So you might have to get out of your comfort zone and kind of, again, take a look at what you look like now, what you're playing, and try and find yourselves in commercials when you're watching stuff on TV. Where are you in that? What roles are you doing? And hone in on that.
Great advice. And next question I have is, are you okay with receiving emails from actors with their headshots and resumes?
Yes, I'm okay with it. I mean, if I'm busy, I might not get to it very quickly. And I try to look at everything that comes my way, but sometimes I'm in the weeds myself as a person trying to get the day organized. So yes, that's perfectly fine to reach out. Yeah.
The other thing that I'll mention is that on casting networks, you can create a resume link, and you can, all your resume and your photo and all that's right there. So you can just send the resume link and send that over as well.
That's another. You're bringing something up which I feel is quite important, is to have your profile work for you, right? So if you're a talent and you have special skills, like you can ride a horse or skateboard or BMX or ice skate or yoga, you should have a skill clip with that, right? Because we do a lot of that, where I think you see it in commercials today. There's lots of kids skateboarding and all kinds of things, tons of yoga. So your resume should be, again, super professional, super clear. And I don't think that, I just think you should make it work for yourself to have the photos, your resume current, and highlight any classes that you've been taking. I think it's important too. A lot of people have, and we look for a lot of talent with improvisation skills. So when you go, don't just have like groundlings on your resume. Have like, what level are you in Herald classes, so that we can see that your skill level is higher, and to have your skill clip if you can do anything, and your reel back you up. So again, using like the business tools that we have here to stay current, and that they represent you. And again, professional. Don't put on anything on there that you're not proud of.
That's good advice. Don't put anything embarrassing on your resume. So Hillary asked if you can please discuss glasses. If you wear them sometimes, should you audition with or without them?
Yeah. I think, again, that might be role specific. So just for, here we go. So like, here's me without glasses. And then if I'm playing perhaps someone who might be working with computers or in an office, I might want to have those on. So it can work in your favor. Sometimes with people with glasses, I have them do one take with and one take without. Or if they love their glasses and that's part of their look, I will have them slate with their glasses on. And of course, in a slate, they always take them off so that we can see what you look like with on, and then put them back on. Hopefully that's helpful, Hillary.
No, that's great. Elizabeth is wondering, when you get a call back, should you wear the exact same outfit as you did for the first audition, or should you switch it around a little bit?
Yeah, I think, I don't know, where like some acting class back in the day said always wear the same thing, like, oh, remember her, she was in the red shirt girl. But I think today, I think you should dress similarly. It should be in the same vein. It doesn't have to be the exact same outfit, but it should be still like, if they're saying like, hip casual jeans, a little jacket, sweatshirt, or just whatever the description is, just match that as well. But you certainly do not have to wear the same thing.
Yeah, that makes sense. It's similar-ish, at least so they can, because sometimes they're looking at that original audition, right? And then the callback. Yeah. And so being able to be like, oh yeah, that's the same person,
Yeah.
Maybe don't dye your hair in between the audition and the callback.
Yes, thank you. That's an important thing too. It's like, don't change your looks dramatically before callbacks, which happens sometimes,
Yeah.
People will like, oh yeah, I decided to shave, or, and they alter their looks, and that can help and it could hurt you. So it's one of those things, you should maintain your look from your first call to your callback for sure. And if you get put on a veil for the job, don't change your looks at all until you go to wardrobe and they ask for any changes. That's important.
And Rachel is asking, is it not advised to include background work on my resume if I don't have any official work otherwise? So my only experience is background work. Should I put that on or leave it off? Or what should I put on my resume?
I think if you're new and that's all you have, you should put it on. I think as you move up the ladder and have more credits, you can let those go. But it's good to see that you're at least working.
Yep. And I've got a lot of similar questions, so I'm trying to find another medium one. Yeah, a nice medium on.
Hi, everyone.
I think this one's timely, so I'm just going to put that in because I'm hoping this is the case, but I don't know your opinion. So I've heard some say no shaking folks' hands at the audition. What if they offer to shake your hand? Obviously, now it's going to be different, so no handshakes from here on out. How about a fist bump?
Yes, I would let someone prompt you for that. I wouldn't engage beforehand, only because a lot of people want to go and shake your hands, and then it's like 30 people or 40 or whatever a day, and some people aren't comfortable with touching, so. I would let someone initiate to you, the actor, and if you're comfortable with it, receive it. But I think moving forward, we're going to be probably, elbows and,
Yep.
virtual high fives.
I personally am hoping that the handshake is not a thing and that we can, but at the very least, you can at least say like, oh, germs, and now people won't be so offended, right?
Right.
It's like
Right.
so maybe that's
Yeah.
a,
But, yeah, the thing is you have to
you
be
know,
able to read personal boundaries, right?
yeah.
You don't want to like come in and just like, hey, when someone hasn't extended their hand to you for that, you can easily have a really pleasant, welcoming conversation without a handshake or, say thank you without it.
So you do obviously a ton of commercials, so that's going to include a lot of commercials with kids. So here's a question about kids. For
Yeah.
children, should I update their headshot when they lose teeth?
Um, you can, I think it wouldn't be a bad idea. I think there's when the kids are about 5, they're just dropping them every 2 seconds. Those they're losing their teeth quite frequently. What I do think is important is for kids, anytime their look has changed or they've had a growth spurt, to take new shots. Um, I have some some people who like I'll set down a breakdown for a teen and there'll be like a toddler picture in there. I'm like, how is that? Why aren't these pictures updated? It's just crazy to me. So I think for parents, unfortunately, you're going to have to update their photos at least every year, or anytime they've had any big growth spurt, and to please put that on their size sheets as well, like to see how tall they are, because that comes into play when we're picking ages or clothing to match, like, for Old Navy, they have to be in certain sizes. And, it says on there, they're one size and they're actually 3 sizes larger. So it's important to maintain that for sure.
Yeah, it should look like you. That's the most important thing.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And, you want a good day, the best version of yourself, it doesn't, I'm not saying, it just should look like you.
Right. And yeah, if it doesn't, it makes things complicated. And the other thing that not everybody knows, that your resume is not only viewed by your agent, not only viewed by casting, but also casting's clients. So they're looking at that as well. So,
Exactly. So when you link onto our casting link, everything is kind of seamed together. So they have your headshot, they could view your reel, they look at your resume, they could look at your skill clips. So they have access to all of these things. So that's why I say make the most of your profile, make the most of it, make it an important part. It is your calling card. It is your first introduction to me. So it should represent you and have a good energy and have a sense of your energy.
Yep. Nadia is wondering, and I've seen variations of this question. So if you have an LA commercial agent and they are not on your immediate radar, not one of the biggies, what can I do as an actor besides direct casting to get my face in front of you? Drop-offs? And variations of that question have been like, do I need to be repped by a specific agent commercially in order to be seen, and that sort of thing? So
I think there certainly are bigger agents out there, but I think that when I'm looking at a project, I'm looking at the role specifically. So I'm going to look at all the submissions, or as many as I can possibly get to. So it's someone who's submitting you for the right projects is the agent that you want. Someone who understands you as a talent and sends you out on the roles that you're going to book. And I'm very careful because I don't call in everybody. I'm very specific. I know it takes time and energy to get here. It takes, people are driving in crazy traffic and frustrated when they get here and have limited time. And so I call in who I think is going to book the role. I don't know. Did I answer the question?
No, yeah, I think that covers it. Let's see. There's a couple on here that
you think of. Another thing that I think is really important, another way to empower yourself when you get here is, when you are going from place to place and you're running around for the day, and a lot of actors have to have another job to help pay the bills. I think what happens is people run in here and they're like, I gotta get to this thing. And they're like, can I get in? And so all I see is them trying to get to their next thing. And they don't enjoy the moment that they're here and sitting and breathing a second, shaking off whatever driving and just like connect to like, okay, I'm here. I get to act. I get to do the thing I love most. Instead, I'm seeing like running. I gotta go. And the next thing, and they're worried. And so, it's another way to empower yourself is to set boundaries that when you come here, you take a breath, you shake everything off, and you jump in and play, and you have fun, and you get to bring your best self to the experience. And if you're worried about all the other things, I'm going to see that. So I encourage you, I implore you to take time for yourself. Again, even if it's like you're in a bad mood and you're coming up to the audition, turn on your favorite song in the car, jam out for a second, let that energy shake up, and then audition. But be present when you're here. Don't be trying to get to the next thing or not present, because that just really comes across. You can't shake that.
Yeah, you can tell.
Yeah.
So Chris was wondering, when I audition for a role and my interpretation is not what you are looking for, will it hurt my chances of a callback? If so, how can I get myself closest to what you are looking for?
Well, I think you should listen to the direction, right? So the direction that I'm giving you is coming from the director. So I think this is where it gets a little bit collaborative, right? If someone's like, I didn't see the role that way, I have another take. I'm always interested in seeing that, for sure. I don't know that everyone is, but again, for me, it's part of the collaboration. That's where it's exciting for me. I don't want everyone to do the same thing. You can't all be, you get to just bring yourself to this part that you're doing. So, I think that's the most important part. And if you have a question about it, I think that's where you can ask. Like, I see this a very different way. And, sometimes I bring in different types, a total alternate. So I'll have like 90% of, who I think is going to book the spot. And then I'll throw in some like, well, we could go this way. It might be fun if it's this type instead of this. So there's room for flexibility. But if you're not sure, or you think you have a difference, to say, I have a different point of view. What are your thoughts on this? And then we can collaborate, But I won't know if you're just like, oh, well, if that wasn't the way I thought it was going to be, and you just run off, then I won't know, so.
Yeah. I like this question because you and I talked about it a little bit in the past. Is there really a blacklist, actors that you will not bring in for being late, missing auditions, etc.? Because I know that sometimes talent might think, oh, I'm not auditioning, I was before, maybe this casting director doesn't like me, etc., etc.,
Yeah, I don't subscribe to that. I can't speak for anyone else, but I don't feel that way. I think, look, we live in this world. People are going to be late. I try and be as accommodating as I can, but respectful of the people that I'm working with. So if you're really, really late and the session has ended, there's not much I can do, but I'm always willing to have, I try and be as flexible as I can within reason. And I'm certainly not going to blackball you for being late, or for not having your best audition, or whatever the reason that you think it might be. That's just not how I work. And I don't think my company follows that, my leadership on that, I think.
Great. This is a good question. I was told once you have met a CD, so at a workshop, seminar, or something like that, to stay in touch with email on news of, hey, I booked something. Do you like actors staying in touch and giving you this information?
Well, I think they're certainly welcome to. Again, I try and look at as much as I can. And it's always great to see, like, they always, I was told when I was in classes as well, just like, send a postcard, send a thank you. It's certainly appreciated when I get a thank you card, and I really like meeting new talent. So it is a good way to keep in touch, for sure, and to say, look, I'm working.
I'll just add that there's a lot of people saying thank you and that you're the best, and a lot of flattering remarks. So aww, I should just pull all those in for you. They're not questions, but
I love what I do, for sure. And I'm really, I miss being with all the actors all day because we get to play and have fun here. And I can't wait for everyone to stay safe, and we'll get healthy, and then we'll all go back to work. So,
Well,
but everyone should know that I miss you guys. I love you. And I'm always grateful for your hard work. I was an actor myself. I know it's not easy, and I have the utmost respect for what you do.
yeah, we excited to get back to normal.
Yes. Will we? Will be normal?
Well,
The new normal?
will that ever happen? Yeah. Adrian was wondering, what if you don't have a reel? So on your Casting Network's profile, you can put up a video reel, and that's free. Not everyone knows that. So you definitely take advantage. So the question is, I don't have a reel yet. I'm just getting started, or maybe I have like one thing that doesn't really constitute a reel, but what can I put in that spot?
Well, I wouldn't put anything unless you like it. Really, again, I think there are some companies out there that will do some reels for you, or you can do some short films. But again, if you don't have a reel that represents you, then just don't put it up. Just don't have it. It's it will hurt you more than it will help you unless it's good, really, to be honest.
And Johnny is wondering, how likely is it that casting and clients will look at your social media?
Today, I think it's a big part of it. Yeah, I do. I think it is definitely influenced. The influencers have influenced everyone. So I do think it is a component now. And brands are aware of it. Of course, they're hiring some talent direct and capitalizing on that, on their eyeballs, I guess they call it, right? Putting eyes on something, and how many views they have. So I think if it's something that you like and you like having that, then feel free to build it for yourself, because again, you are really the brand. You're selling you, and you're attuning to other brands, right, that you might represent. So I know some people really work on their social presence and are building a brand for themselves. And I certainly would encourage it. I don't say it's necessary, but I don't think it can hurt for sure. And they can get a sense of you, but there might be something on there they dislike. So it's one of those things that can kind of go either way for you, but if your views aren't in line with some, perhaps, but I don't think it can hurt to build your brand.
Right. So the question is, I live in Chicago. Should I submit myself for castings that are in Los Angeles? I guess another question is, and I don't know if you get this, but it's like, hey, I see that this is casting in LA. I don't live in LA, but I can fly there. I can get there.
Right. Well, it's not really realistic, right? For that model to continue. I think if I'm searching for someone and I know that the client is willing to travel, that's a very different story. I don't think I would self-submit on something where I wasn't local and available. And for a number of reasons, right? The shoot could change and move. Things could move around. So you might have purchased a ticket to come here and have to get back, and then might have to purchase another ticket. And that's, that doesn't make financial sense to do that. So for the most part, I think you should be local to where you are, except if, of course, I'm looking for people from all over, which happens when we do some real people casting. We'll reach out. Could be nationwide, could be specific. So I think in the commercial world, I think I would prefer people to be local for sure.
And one question that I think we mentioned this on the channel, but has come up a lot. Just want to mention that regarding how do I get an agent? Can I get an agent? Can I submit without getting an agent? I will say that next week on Tuesday, we will have an agent on. So we'll give more information about that, who will talk about how to get representation. because I know that there's a lot of questions about that. So stay tuned
Yeah.
for following Tuesday. In general, though, in terms of getting an agent, do you have any advice for, I'm a non-represented talent, I'm in LA, how do I go about finding an agent?
Right. Well, there are plenty of agents who are looking for new talent all the time. And I think even on your website, you have something like that, right? Like a scouting talent or talent scout.
Yep.
So look into avenues like that. I find another way where people get agents is through their friends. Just like, I just did a play with, with my friend. She was amazing. You should see her and walk your picture into the room. That's a great way to at least get your foot in the door, or at least have them send your photos along to see if they're willing to take a meeting. Also, there are several agencies that have open calls, and I encourage talent to go there and audition. And it's better to have some representation right with you, and to submit yourself on as many projects as that you can, like again on Direct Cast or something like that, where people are looking to see talent without representation. So there are a few things that you can do, but I think the buddy system is a good way to approach.
Yep.
And it's warm, and you'll have they'll have a relationship, so it won't be just kind of like oh, here's my picture.
Yeah, and I'm glad we're getting a lot of questions about representation, because really it's the best thing that you can do for your career is to find representation. It's
right. Find representation that gets you.
Yeah,
so
that
you
understands.
Have a real relationship. Yeah.
I like that. So we have Kim, the personal question. What's the one thing you wish all actors knew about your job? So something that they don't know or don't understand that you wish that they knew.
Ooh, that's a good question. My job is a lot harder and stressful than I think people think. I think they're like, oh, it must be so fun to be in casting and working. It's really stressful because I'm dealing with a bunch of agendas at once and timing issues. So there's schedules that have to be made. There's things kind of have to happen. And so we're in the office coordinating a lot of things, like directors having a point of view, the clients having a point of view. I'm still trying to get the schedule out and still going through things. So it gets really hectic and it gets really stressful. And I think that's one thing people don't know about it. The fun part is, of course, being in the room and working on the commercial, but I think it's I don't know, it can be really stressful.
No, yeah, it's very stressful.
For sure. I feel like having a session is kind of like having a dinner party where I'm like, all right, I've got to have the lighting, I have to have the food, we have to have great food, we have to bring in the great people, get everything together, is everyone having fun? So it's kind of
Yeah, as someone who's been on the other end of that stress, I can tell, and I know that those, some castings can be very stressful experience.
We're wrangling humans.
Yeah. I love this question. It's, I think, very specific to the commercial casting process. Why is it that we get such short notice about auditions? We only get calls from our agent the night before the audition, usually.
Yes, that's what's happening right now. It's super quick, and it didn't used to be like this. So it is really fast paced right now. And for us, they'll be like, can you put out a breakdown, or put out a project notice and get this out, put a casting brief and get people in this afternoon. And I'm like, do you really? Yeah. So there's because the internet is so expansive and so quick that I think it's just, everything's just gotten so fast and we don't have the time. So unfortunately, we love to give as much notice as possible. But if I put out a schedule 2 days in advance, people come the next day because they're so used to they're not reading their ticket. So that's what happens. We get calls, or I'll be running my session and then I'll get a phone call from the producer saying, "Oh, that role went away, but now they want to add a friend."
Yeah.
Who's a completely different spec, and you're scrambling like, okay, well maybe I could try and get some in the afternoon. So throw out the calls. So I hate late calls too. I really do. I try and get my schedule out as early as humanly possible because yeah, it's frustrating because you're trying to get your day together, and I understand that. Like we're all trying to get our day together, and if a wrench is thrown my way, I have to kind of throw the Hail Mary back out into the universe.
And I think we have time for one more question. So I'm going to throw this in here.
Lucky winner.
Lucky winner is Kay. So we're going to ask, what is a pet peeve when casting an actor? Is there something we should avoid doing or saying during an audition?
If I had a pet peeve, it would be negativity. And someone who wants to be somewhere else than here. That's hard for me because I know how limited the opportunities are. And when people come in, I really want the best for the project, and I want to uphold the vision set out for the day. And if someone comes in with a bad attitude and doesn't want to be here, and I can see that, and more importantly, I can feel it, then it's kind of hard to work and make something positive of that when I have to fight to get that. So I guess that would be my pet peeve.
Yeah, that's it. Well, I'm wondering if we have time for one more. Maybe we can do
one more. Let's go out.
One more. Okay, I'm going to find one more question from John. You ready, John? They're like,
Dear John.
There's like, which John is it? My hair is getting gray. Should I leave it go till I get booked? And if they want it colored, they can ask me to do that. So I'll reword that basically. If my hair is going gray, should I color that? What should I do with it?
Well, I think it should represent who you are. So if you look older and you're dyeing your hair and it doesn't represent you, I don't think it serves you. If you have a little bit of gray and you're playing 40s, I think that's completely fine. If you're younger, you might want to cover it. That's a really personal question. It's a great question, but that again goes back to you as a talent. Who are you? What roles are you going out for? What age are you portraying? And some talent look older than they are, and some talent look much younger than they are, and some talent look, their age. So I think that's part of it. Is just seeing what age category you're in and what product we're going out for might lend a hand to that.
Awesome. Well, we are out of time, so I wanted to say thank you to everybody watching. Thank you so much for Mel. I'm going to just drag some comments on here and people that said thank you. So,
thank you. I'm so happy. I'm telling you, I'm so happy to be out today.
Yeah, nice to have something else, to break up the day. Definitely.
I didn't get to your question. I'm so sorry. Hopefully this was informative, and I hope that you can walk with ease into your next audition, knowing that you're appreciated. We're thrilled that you're there. Come in and have fun. And I wish everyone success and lots of bookings, right? Lots of bookings.
Awesome. All right. Thank you, Mel. Thank you, everybody else. And have a wonderful rest of your day.
You too. Thanks again.
All right. See ya.
Okay.